Black it out. One more time. I'll take my urge to kill and black everything else out.
Your misery marks the start of your conquest. The Lost Children arc follows Guts in the darkest time yet, and therefore it takes on a very scary role, giving us this tale that can almost be described as horror. We're given disgusting, depraved moments, horrible, heartbreaking tales, and gruesome, unimaginable violence from Guts. Yet underneath it all, there's a method to the madness. This arc is all about Guts' internal war with his humanity. After the loss of everything, Guts became a man clad in darkness, endlessly pursued by spirits, and one masking his pain to confront his ultimate goal of killing Griffith. Yet there's been so many stories before where this leads to utter despair, a complete downfall. The Lost Children arc simply questions, will Guts be another one of those many stories? Now if you know Berserk, you're probably asking, isn't the Lost Children arc part of the bigger Conviction arc? And yes it is. Lost Children is part of the bigger Conviction arc, though many of its elements are self-contained, like its themes and the stories it tries to tell. Mostly for this reason, I wanted the video to be on its own, and also because I kinda needed a bit of a break after this video. I mean, it's 4.5 hours long, give me a break, come on man. So without a further ado, grab a delicious drink, put me on in the background if that's how you like to watch, and grab your favorite sword. For real this time. Well, just don't break your screen. With that, we're hopping straight into my breakdown and analysis of Berserk's Lost Children arc. It's a long one, but thank you for watching and of course enjoy the video. A group known as the Holy Iron Chain Knights walk into a familiar sight. Picking up right where we left off, the group find the remains of the Eclipse, Midland's vast lake, stained red with blood and human remains. The remains of the Band of the Hawk. We're then fed a prophecy. When the sun dies 5 times, a red lake will appear near the city with a new and old name. The lady in charge removes her helmet to say, it's proof the 5th angel will alight, the Hawk of Darkness, the master of the sinful black sheep, king of the white blind sheep, the one who shall call down upon the world an age of darkness. Wait, that's what the guys at the Eclipse said. They said that. You know, the guy with the big brain and the woman with the tentacles? They said that. To get you up to speed, the Eclipse, a huge world-defining event, happened right here in this lake. This event ascended Griffith to demonhood, becoming the being known as Femto. And the beings who did so and the ones he joined, the God Hand, stated alongside this that it would become the Age of Darkness. The thing is, she's clearly referring to Griffith, but rather than him being known as the heroic White Hawk, as he has many times before, he's now known as the Hawk of Darkness. This makes sense with what we know, I'm not debating it, but saying that he's the Hawk of Darkness and is going to rise with an Age of Darkness? Yeah, it's like this scene is placed here to tell us, oh, Griffith's more involved with this story than we know and he's gonna keep messing with it. We're still not free of Griffith's torment yet, even if this arc is really more so about Guts more than anything. 2 years later, shrouded in darkness with nothing but rainfall for miles, we stand before men who've captured a girl they plan to sell. Eventually one speaks about the tree they stand before. There's a tale of heretics who would wrap the tree in intestines and people, and considering the tree looks like it has faces on it, it might be believable. One of them begins some sicko shit before they notice something shrouded behind the tree in the darkness. One of these bandits decides to yell at it, and then the thunder cracks, revealing Guts, sheltering from the rain before he stands.
Can't even catch a wink.
The girl assumes Guts to be a forest ghost, before, like a badass, Guts ignores their threats and pushes a blade into one of their tongues. I mean, don't lick the blade if you didn't even want that to possibly happen. Guts inquires about the tree's tail before stating they should soon leave. And if Guts tells you to leave, you know what's about to happen. The weird heretic tree soon comes to life as Guts' brand gushes blood, our first demon of this video, and another hunt of many. Guts wastes no time swinging his huge, hulking blade over the captive girl in order to slice the demonic tree to pieces. The girl is stunned, her giving us the essential quote to describe Guts' Dragon Slayer. It was much too big to be called a sword. Massive, thick, heavy, and far too rough. Indeed, it was like a slab of raw iron. Yeah, you just gotta read it out loud every time. It's just even hearing this quote means we're back with the Black Swordsman whether we like it or not. Guts stands before the demon as it chants sacrifice, him leaping into action to slice and claw his way through before he's caught. Not. You forgot he had an arm cannon? The demons somehow still have no idea. Guts brings his sword down one more time to finish the demon, looking up as the sun now rises.
First I've seen the sun in 3 days.
To be the cherry on top, Puck, the pixie elf, then appears next to them. The Black Swordsman really is in full effect, but somehow, it's like Puck scares the girl more than the demon and more than Guts. She calls him an elf from Misty Valley, and as they just stare at her confused, we see exactly what she was talking about. Nearby, elves whirl around the remaining group of men, all before they come to their leader, a monstrous elf calling this all a fairy tale. Wait, we've seen this creature in the Golden Age too. Huh. Before we get too far forward, I want to note that we've come across an extremely dark Guts. Up to this point, Guts has been in search of a dream, his dream to hone his swordsmanship to the highest level, as well as a precious thing, the acceptance of the people around him. Though in the end, we did see that the precious thing, the people around him, was more important than the dream. Therefore, the Guts we see now is a man robbed of that precious thing, the thing that he's tried and tested and proved to himself to be the most important thing in the world to him. He's lost everyone he's ever had a relationship with, most notably his lover Casca, all of them taken by a man named Griffith, a person he would probably have considered his best friend and rival. With this, he became a man consumed by darkness with the goal of revenge against Griffith, in turn becoming the Black Swordsman we now see. This point of Guts' life is the darkest, most depraved, and the least human moments of his entire journey. And this is exactly what we're gonna see. It's gonna be a horrible arc showcasing how horrible he is right now. Despite this, through the Black Swordsman opening that happened like 100 chapters ago, seriously, we're like at chapter 100, crazy, we see that Guts does obviously have human feelings. It just makes a lot of sense for him to mask these feelings to keep people away from him. After all, his life is consumed and will continue to be consumed by nothing but violence right now. Still, by no means, even if masked, he is not a kind man at all. By all definitions and everyone who views him, as you'll later see, he is a walking monster. And maybe if you don't see that now, I guarantee you by the end of this arc you'll understand what I mean. Ultimately, we're at a crossroads with Guts. You can say this current state, how he's acting and his choices are based on his trauma, and I'd understand it. I'd agree to a certain extent. But as time goes on, he really needs to prove that this isn't really him. Guts cannot remain in the dark forever. The Golden Age was proof of what this path becomes. Griffith was the only example we'd ever need to show us that nothing good comes from it. In the grand narrative of Berserk, this arc is a clash of this idea. Is Guts a monster, or is he truly capable of beginning his own conquest? Guts brings the girl, now revealed to be named Jill, back to her village. This choice, perhaps based on nothing but curiosity, reveals a horrible example of what Berserk's world is really like. The place is run down and decrepit, and upon meeting Jill's parents, her father is revealed to be a good-for-nothing drunk, insanely abusive, and a man obsessed with only his time on the battlefield. Her mother also does nothing for the most part, yet when she does finally speak, she asks Jill to apologize for doing nothing wrong. Her father then begins to beat Jill with her mother just sitting there. And he probably would have killed the girl if it wasn't for Puck stopping him. This familial situation is literally a one-to-one of what Gambino was to Guts. Yet Guts doesn't care one bit on the surface. Matter of fact, Guts actually doesn't mention Gambino anymore at all in Berserk since his relations with Casca. Like everything that moment hinted at, it's as if Guts has healed his trauma. I love that he just doesn't get choked up at this. Guts may be darker in every way now, but he's grown in a lot more ways than he might realize. For now though, Puck stops the abusive man. But at the sight of him, the townspeople begin to freak out, just like Jill had. And despite Guts brandishing his sword, they're chased off and forced to hide. Finding refuge under a bridge, Guts sits confused and Puck plants arson. Puck, just what is with you? He even goes as far to call the villagers sex offenders considering how crazily they chased him. And considering what we really do later learn about a few of them, Puck, you might know the future. Jill appears above them to apologize for not warning them about the town's fear of elves. She then shows Guts to an old windmill, and as Guts warns her to not come near him before morning, she returns home to her abusive household. Her situation is shown to be even worse than we thought, as not only is her mother shown to be very much a victim of abuse herself, but she has to bar her door out of fear, blocking men from coming in to do horrible things. Yeah, Puck was right. Horrible doesn't even cut it for this. It's just... poor Jill. Sun rises as Jill eagerly stumbles into the windmill, bearing witness to Guts finally sleeping as the spirits around him dissolve. Puck tells her to let him sleep. Guts doesn't get a lot of it, and so she sits there, thinking about how Guts truly does come from a strange world. When he wakes up, he smashes an incubus and finds Jill asleep on his lap. A look of unease followed by a second of silence. Guts is unsure about having others around. He's a beacon to the demons after all. But more than this, Jill is covered in a bunch of bruises. I love this moment so much because it's so similar to everything the Black Swordsman is about. Guts does have to live differently. He's surrounded by demons no matter what. And how he carries himself, especially here, reflects that. He's stated how tired he is. He's clearly aware of his situation. And so, in the morning, after he told her to not come near him and he sees her, he's very uneasy seeing her next to him. He's terrified of letting anyone near him because of the risk it holds. Like Jill had said, Guts really is in a different world. Guts doesn't act this way because he wants to, it's because he has to. To Jill though, Guts being here is like something out of a fairy tale. Hence the comment. He immediately saved her and disregarded everything that had bothered her so deeply. Jill is also noticeably a centerpiece, almost second main character of this entire arc, as she's pretty much used to tell the story right alongside Guts. If you already didn't get the gist, one of the main central points of Lost Children is to just tell you that the world of Berserk is horrible, especially for children. The fact is that through Jill, we're seeing a horrifying, terrible example of what a childhood in Berserk looks like. And it hurts even more as we know Guts has been through pretty much the same exact things. While the sight of Jill's father may not have hurt Guts, the abuse definitely does. As we clearly saw, it stopped him for a moment. He hates this. It's one of the most commonly shown things about Guts. He constantly gets choked up at the sight of things happening to children. I mean, he literally cried after his conversation with Theresa in the Black Swordsman. This is one of the main points to point towards the fact that Guts hasn't lost its humanity. He's simply disregarded it for the most part. Like I said before, what he does from here on is the important thing. And because that's the case, we catch up to him in an arc involving children. I mean, it reads perfectly. What's a better way to test a person's morality, humanity, than put them in a scenario involving children, the purest beings to humanity? Guts decides to at least ask about Misty Valley, the reason Jill was so fearful of Puck as well as the villagers. Apparently, it's a nearby location said to house elves. But as of recently, villages have been attacked by strange creatures very similar to these rumored elves. They destroy crops, attack livestock, even eat humans. But most alarmingly, they take the children. Guts' brand begins to bleed, him crashing out of the building to see a volley of light descending onto the village.
Well, they ain't pesky little elves. There's something else.
With a wicked look on his face, Guts realizes these aren't elves, rather demons, the very thing he loves to hunt more than anything else. The creatures cover the village as the tiny pieces of light destroy everything in sight. The people cower in fear, the livestock is attacked, and Jill's father hits her mother while seemingly blaming everything going on Jill, saying she's the one in the wrong because she was wandering around outside. Just horrible. We watch these elf-like creatures tear the village apart as a child runs out of his home. The elves are quickly on his tail as he runs into Guts. He swats the elves like bugs before taking the child he had saved and pitching him atop his sword, running away with him at the top, knowing these creatures will follow, leading them right into a small barn. In the dark, the creatures now transform, now clearly some kind of bug, pest, demon, stinger and all. Therefore, he wastes no time destroying them before using his arm cannon to incinerate them. He stands before the flames with the boy. The bugs burn real nice. They too can fight back if they desire. But as the child is frozen with fear, another creature shows up, the one at the head of this horror story. She herself claims to be an elf, and while she definitely looks the part, Guts isn't convinced, something she takes serious offense to. The tiny creatures then begin to speak, Puck noting they seem to be childlike. But before he can fully realize, the elf lady dives at Guts. Yet he misses what should be an easy strike and is stabbed straight through the arm. He's confused on how he missed and why he's now covered in some sort of dust. But that's when Puck screams, having to go as far as pulling on Guts to tell him that he's figured this whole thing out. Those little creatures? They aren't elves. They're not demons. They're not bugs. They're actually human children. The giant elf creature thing then notices and looks towards Puck, calling him Peekif the Outcast, before diving at Guts yet again, but he realizes with the dust, his arm won't move. Jill then jumps in front of him, telling Rosine to stop, and the giant elf does. The creature stares at Jill for what feels like minutes, before disappearing as fast as she came. It then gets even worse, because of course it does, as the villagers come out and begin to blame Guts for everything. The damage, the fire, using the kid as a lure. But he laughs. They never even came out and they blame him? But as the fire behind them roars, it begins to make sense. The dead bug-like elves have transformed into children. They have every right to be fearful of their situation. These creatures have been taking the village's children for sinister purposes, all under the guise of innocent elves. Sensing the fear, Guts takes Jill hostage, using her as leverage to get out of the village safe, and nobody really tries anything. Even Jill's father, who boasted to be a war hero, sat there and cowered in fear. On the outskirts, Puck throws a fit as Guts leaves Jill and apologizes, her asking if he's planning to go to the Misty Valley. That huge elf, she thinks it's her friend who had disappeared long ago, Rosine. Hearing this, Guts simply tells her to give up.
Give it up. As you saw, she's not human anymore. I'm about to go kill that friend of yours. If you come with me, what'll happen? Stay away. This ain't some kiddie game.
She's left to wonder if this will be it and nothing will change for her. Will she return home to the same exact situation? She holds the spot Guts held the knife as she looks forward. Maybe she should continue to follow him. Puck has followed Guts and messes with him over his actions, appearing to him as a cartoon character more than anything, even saying that without him the story would be too dark. Guts grabbing him in response, saying he wants to crush him as he throws him away. Okay. It's kinda strange, but this elf guy, Puck, he's just kinda here with Guts now. He's just here. I loved Puck so much during the Black Swordsman because he was like this little angel on Guts' shoulder, constantly reminding him of what he should be doing to be good, and yelling at him when he isn't being good. He was the perfect companion for our very dark main character, Guts. Not only being some fun comedic relief, but as I said, being that contrast. But as of now, right now, I feel like it's starting to be lost. Maybe not lost yet, it's just not really the focus. Puck is beginning to act a bit different. While before he was very much a 50-50 on the contrast and the comedy, he is now more so like a 70-30. Like, he is more so the comedic relief of this story now than an actual, like, object of morality. He literally says right here, if he wasn't here, the story would be too dark. I mean, it literally said he's a comedic device and not much more. I guess you could say he could have simply gotten used to how dark Guts is and stopped objecting to it, but considering how strongly opposed he was in the Black Swordsman, I doubt it. He'll question Guts, sure, but it's quickly changed to comedic relief as you'll later see. There's not really much pushback from him. Toning down this aspect in an arc all about Guts and his humanity has always read as a strange choice to me. Even more so as he does continue to lose this aspect more and more as the arcs go on. I only mention this so that we do have something to look back on when it does get worse and worse, but all I'm saying is that by now Puck would have cried and thrown like 6 fits by now. And I didn't think I'd ever be saying it, but I think I missed that. Guts can't get the image of the burning children out of his mind. It's taken a heavy toll on him on top of the poison dust and injuries from that weird demon. He looks to his sword like he always has. It's gonna be a long night. The brand then begins to bleed as he views a demonic fetus in the fire. And unlike way back when in the Black Swordsman prologue, we now know what this means. Casca and Guts had conceived a child before it was corrupted by Femto, and it understandably torments Guts. He begins to see the inflamed spirits of dead children, him blaming the fetus as he gets sick. Guts hates to see children hurt, even more so as he's lost his own. This reminds us of that very fact, yet they're otherworldly all the same. He'll spend all night bringing them down. As his battle begins, a wolf howls. The first of many times Guts will be shown as a wolf in some way. Though here, in front of the moon, a constant piece of symbolism to show an important turning point, Jill makes a huge, life-changing choice. That rather than cower back to the village, live her life as it always has been, she'll follow Guts and learn the truth. Jill soon happens upon Guts, fully enveloped in rage as he slashes the fiery spirits to ash. His face housing a wicked smile as Jill is ambushed by a spirit, yet Guts unknowingly saves her. The sight of her snaps him out of his rage, him falling on top of her as he soon seizes a moment to escape with her in hand. A moment that shows Guts perfectly. Despite being this animalistic beast of rage, when he thinks is needed to fight demonhood, Guts does have human feelings, he just simply masks them. It's shown as he didn't hesitate to help Jill and save her right here. In the morning, Guts awakens and has a simple request. Shake Puck on him so he can heal with this dust. Because yes, Puck is just an infinite health potion now. Why won't you do that? Yet again, we then hear a mention of that PCAF in reference to Puck. And so, Guts asks about it. We're all curious. What is it? Jill explains it as a fairy tale. that one day there was a boy named Pikif with pointed ears and red eyes. Regardless of these differences, his parents loved him even if he was a bit strange. Though one day, burdened by insecurities, Pikif had left his loving parents to search for where he really belonged, heading into a forbidden forest to find tons of creatures just like him. But even then, he was the only one there without wings. One of the creatures then told him about a tale of parents bringing their child and begging for it to be saved, and so they did, at the cost of the human baby resembling an elf. It was Pikif. Despite it making him different, his parents really only ever cared that he lived. This caused him to realize he had abandoned the place where he had truly belonged. Crying, Pikif ran home, but by then it was too late. While he had visited the forest for a couple of minutes, 100 years had passed, leaving Pikif an outcast to cry and cry. He had abandoned his utmost precious thing to search for something he hadn't yet realized wasn't nearly as important, only figuring out what the important thing was when it was too late. If you really know Berserk, then this story probably sounds a bit familiar, as the lesson it tells closely follows the path Guts has lived. While it's a common tale, realizing what you love when it's already gone, it was most definitely crafted to relate to Guts. He had left the Hawk to search for a dream he wasn't even sure of, and while he did find it, he later returned to the Hawk to realize they were the more important thing, but by then it was too late. The truth is that while it's a fairy tale and made as a plot point for this arc, it's ironic to see how it all wraps back to Guts being the spitting idea of it. But Jill then reflects on the story. Rosine, that big elf, loved it, even saying she was just like Pikif. She was like a big sister to Jill, a bit boyish and adventurous, but that just enhanced their friendship. She even one day found a weird egg rock with eyes in it. Oh no, it's a Bailet. This thing makes people demons. Jill then realized the reason Rosine was outside so much was because she didn't want to go home. Rosine would always be bruised and clearly hurt as she recalled her version of the Pikif story. For context, Rosine's mother had been assaulted, and so her father was conflicted if Rosine was really his, leading to serious abuse in her household. Rosine's version of Pikif was that he was actually an elf and had truly found his real parents in the forest. To Rosine, the story of Pikif, her version of it, was a way to cheer herself up and offer an escape, making Rosine yet another tragic example of how horrible the world of Berserk is for children. One night, Jill was awoken by Rosine saying she was leaving for Misty Valley, and so she left, and soon after her parents had gone missing as well. All that was left was the box of things left to Jill, but the weird rock, the Bailet, was missing. Soon after, everything we know started, the small bug elves, the attacks, and most of the children disappearing. Puck then speaks up. The rock Rosine had, it was just like this, right? He pulls a Bailet out of Guts' pocket. Why does Guts have one? And as Puck explains it as his pillow, betchy, Guts explains it as a stone that summons angels who grant powers. It's clear her friend Rosine used this to summon those angels and get her form in exchange for something. Rosine had offered up her parents to become a demon. This is where everything really gets serious, as Guts tells Jill that this isn't a kid's tale. She may follow Guts like he's a figure from a fairy tale, but the one Rosine chose was a gruesome grown-up's tale, and if Jill follows in this direction, she's gonna end up dead. He then states, the next time she's in the way, he's not gonna stop his sword. She then tries to slap him, yet he then goes on to say that if she wants to escape from everything, she should follow Pikif, not him. So we're given a lot of the pieces here. It's clear Rosine is a demon and is using her demonhood to somehow create the tale of Pikif. I mean, taking children and transporting them into these weird bug elves sounds just like the fairy tale, and considering this is a childish demon and she was a child when she became a demon, I think this type of story is perfectly fitting. More alarmingly, we're privy to learn Guts has a Baylet. Why does he have one? I'm pretty sure this is the Baylet he got from the Count all the way back in the Black Swordsman, but the fact that he even just has one is horrifying. These rocks stay in the hands of people who had the ability to use them, people who had the potential to become demons. What reason would Guts, someone against demonhood at its entirety, have one? Is that not scary to think about? I also had to mention how harshly Guts treats Jill here, even going as far to say he won't hesitate to kill her next time. This is very similar to his actions in the Black Swordsman. Guts found himself feeling compassion for someone and had to remind himself that he can't have that right now, masking himself. He masks himself as a means to protect Jill, not because he's actually horrible, well, maybe not that horrible right now, but it's to protect her and to her to not follow him into this world of demonhood. There's also the fact that she is a child, which, as I have said many times, really drags Guts down. He knows all about how horrible it is being a child in this world. Why would he even want to risk making it worse for her? Yet I must remind you, that statement, that he will not hesitate to kill her, is the exact thing that would push Guts over the edge. While the child elf bug things are pseudo-demons and Rosine is clearly already an apostle, if Guts is really willing to kill Jill, a human child, to further his goal, it would make him no better than Griffith. The Lost Children arc is that test for him. While Guts may claim to be this monster, while he may enact this mask to show himself as that, and he'll say these horrible demonic things, it's ultimately about what he does that will give us our answer. Is Guts really a monster? Or is he that man ready to begin his conquest? Jill sits there crying as Puck tries to reassure her, but before they get anywhere the sky rumbles, Rosine dropping in out of nowhere and holding Jill. A childish interaction commences that confirms to her this really is her childhood friend, and yet she can't bring herself to heed Guts' words, as she allows Rosine to show off her quote, elf, self and invite her to the Misty Valley. And as she begins to pick Jill up, Guts blitzes in, ready to slash the demon in two, but misses, only severing one of her many antennae. As Guts looks up, she shrieks in pain, her true form leaking out for a single moment, before she flies away with Jill as fast as she had arrived. Puck screams at Guts, finally being that contrast we've been looking for, as he berates Guts for seriously attempting to attack with Jill in the way. He really intended to kill her there, and as Puck wanders off, Guts wonders why he held back. Is Jill being around really the reason he's failing to kill the demon? Children are Guts' soft spot. No matter how deep he falls, he'll struggle with his emotions when it comes to them. And now, he's even making mistakes. Jill and Rosine soar high above the trees, Rosine doing her best to reassure Jill that this is okay. It's a view no human could see. It's a world exclusive to those with wings. As implied, Jill is enchanted by the view. Her village is so small. In that tiny village, she was so frightened. Rosine then speaks up. This could be her life if she became one of them. But Jill refuses quick, with no idea why. Rosine then asks about Guts. Could it be because she has some sort of crush on him? That's why? But she can't believe that to be the case. She barely knows him. I think it's very logical to assume Jill sees Guts as some sort of escape. She had literally said he came from another world. In Jill's eyes, Guts is like something out of the fairy tale this arc revolves around, and is now here to remove her from it. Regardless of her feelings though, Rosine states Guts won't make it to the valley. It's guarded by dependable grown-ups to protect the children. As she states this, Guts arrives, his brand bleeding as monstrous sights are revealed by the fog. From a mound of corpses, bandits that Guts had previously killed appear. moving like zombies as it gets even weirder. When Guts fights back, they begin to morph into bugs. Humans to corpses, to zombies, to bugs? Okay. To Guts, it's all the same. He falls into the darkness as he becomes the animalistic warrior we know, struggling as he slaughters the demonic bugs with nothing but rage in his eyes. He's seriously getting worse too. With every battle in this arc, we clearly watch Guts descend deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. It's scary. Eventually, Guts punches through most of them, covered in blood as he stares down the final two. They then transform into bugs like the others, a mantis and a beetle, but these two are far stronger, pushing Guts around back and forth and even throwing him into the air, revealing their strength comes from the fact they used to be knights. Together they tag team Guts, leaving him stuck in the middle considering ways to beat both of them at once. And as they run at him, he figures it out. He points his cannon towards one of them, firing it to incinerate the beetle instantly. The force sends him back, using the momentum to spin him around and cleave the other in half, just barely winning this battle. It's perfectly timed too, as the second they fall, so does he. He wouldn't have been able to take another hit. Guts is now covered in blood and immobile, yet when he reaches into his bag, elf dust, the fairy medicine that heals all. Puck left him quite a lot, and well, speaking of Puck, what's he been up to? Puck has somehow gotten on the back of a bird. No idea how he even managed that. He's just pretty upset at Guts for the earlier spat about Jill, even saying he can't accept that Guts is human, adding more and more credence to the fact that Guts is really that far gone right now. We then see him ponder over what could have made Guts this way, and his impressions of the God Hand are hilarious. Like, look at Femto. I can't, just look at Femto. The bird then kicks him off. It works out though, as perfectly enough, he's found himself right where he needs to be, the Misty Valley. A beautiful place clear of any negativity, but most of all, Puck feels at peace and very nostalgic. It really is a place of the elves, despite us not actually seeing any real elves yet. But well, this story cuts around a lot here, as while Puck has just wandered into the valley and Guts is making his way into it, a third party is introduced in the background. In the village, we bear witness to a mass burial of the burnt children, a horrid sight full of despair and tears, yet Jill's horrible father sits there laughing and drinking. Seriously, I hope he dies by the end of this. Out of nowhere though, the Holy Iron Chain Knights appear, the soldiers from the beginning. Their leader Farnice unmasks herself and asks of the situation, learning of Puck and Guts before stating she's following the same black swordsman. It would seem that since the scene this arc opened on, the one 2 years ago, incidents of plague and evil spirits have grown, but all of these incidents have one thing linking them. Every report speaks of a strange black swordsman, and it all makes sense. It's the brand. Since Guts has been branded, demons arise every night to hunt him. They wonder if he's some sort of notorious criminal, or could he be important to their religion? This is a callback to that prophecy we opened on. While we, the reader, know it speaks of Griffith, they believe Guts could be that Hawk of Darkness and the one who casts the world into darkness. And considering the incidents that do in fact follow him, it's not really a far-fetched theory. The village priest tells that Guts is heading towards the Misty Valley, and so he sends them on their way with a guide. The guide being none other than Jill's useless father. The knights come across Guts' battlefield, a sight of horrors. Yet they're sure this was all the work of him. The hacked to bits bodies, the cannon fire, and the proof of a huge weapon? It has to be the Hawk of Darkness. In her head, Farnice assumes the children, the village damage, and this, it has to all be Guts. She swears on her faith that she'll catch him. Back to Puck. He's found himself playing with the bug-like elves, and all of a sudden, they hand him an eyeball. He, excuses himself, I would too. He soon leads himself to Rosine and Jill, listening in on their conversation as Rosine continues to sell Jill on becoming an elf. The valley's trees always have fruit, it's never cold, and most of all, it's a secret place for them, only the elves. Jill, hearing this, looks up to tens of elves around them. Yet again, never in her life has she seen such beautiful things. Rosine then yet again asks if she'll join them, but Jill still has no idea, so Rosine leaves her with the question, was there ever anything more fun than flying in the sky? Puck waddles up to her exhausted. Apparently he wasted like 13, 15, maybe 18 of his unlimited lives to rescue her. He tells her that Guts was really about to harm her before. She might hope that's not really him, but he reassures her that it is, and so they need to escape right now. The valley is a dangerous place, even more with Guts on his way. Jill then tells Puck that Rosine wants her to become an elf, but she doesn't know what to do, and like a child, she can only ask those older than her what to do with this big decision. Puck assures her that as an elf, that they aren't elves, they're monsters. And more than anyone, considering what they've done to her village, she should see that. Still, she reasons with herself. Wolves attack humans too. What makes them so different? Besides that, she can't think of anything more enjoyable than the valley. Everything in her life is bad. She goes hungry, cold, and is afraid of the people around her more than anything. Revealing the night that she had left and met Guts, the man really did get into her room and attempt to assault her. She grasps Puck as the elf tries to state that her mother will at least be worried. Yet she wonders what if she becomes like her mother who tries to take everything out on her, or her horrible, abusive, useless excuse of a father. With the fear, she begins to squeeze Puck till he yells. And as she sets him down, they view the bug-like elves playing a game. We're then given the most uncomfortable scene of this arc as the elves simply play a battle game, a game imitating a human historic war. Yet we turn the page to them absolutely massacring each other. It's not a game. The elves are really killing each other. They murder in all sorts of ways before dancing covered with the blood of their own. Puck saying only humans enjoy killing like that, or monsters. They then witnessing one assaulting another to death, calling it an adult attack, then impaling it upon a spear and urging Jill to eat it. And as she runs away terrified and sick, the dead turn to real human children. The elves turn to Jill, morphing into disgusting bugs as they intend to chase her. Her and Puck run through the darkness, eventually finding herself in a fruit room? Puck pokes one of them out of curiosity, yet to their horror, one splits open to reveal the pods contain human children being transformed into elves. And as Jill and Puck look on in sheer disbelief, Rosine appears above them. These are the emergence grounds, a place filled with cocoons full of human children ready to be reborn as the elves we've been seeing. Rosine then questions Jill. She wants to run away because they were killing each other? Playing war? Humans always do that. To elves, going all out is fun. Jill screams to her that death is death, and even then, it's not anyone you're killing, it's your friends. But Rosine simply states they can make more friends. In reality, all the elves were just playing human. She then tries to change Jill's mind. If she goes home, she might find a real war on top of the hunger, cold, and abuse. If she becomes an elf right now, everything can be as it was during their childhood. Together, they can run around the forest, the river. She can have everything she ever imagined, even the sky. All if she simply becomes an elf. The Lost Children arc has really begun to expose itself. From Jill and Rosine's stories, to the bug elves playing war, to them now in the cocoon room, We can see that the Lost Children wants to show how naive and easily swayed children can be in a world that wants to do nothing but hurt them. Viewing the horror of what the bug elves really are is scary. It's insanely scary. I'm not even gonna try and deny that. But I want to say it's not really scary for typical horror reasons. The real horror is in the idea and the fact that they do it themselves. The explanation Rosine gives us is that they're simply following what humans do. And you can't really discredit that. It's no secret children will tend to follow what the adults they know do. They don't know any better. The idea that is clearly stated is that if a child has no moral guidance, their examples of how to live being things like war, being told that this is okay, this is just how things go in the world, why wouldn't they accept it all as normal? They know nothing else. And so this idea shows that even something like playing war, playing it as a simple child's game, can become normal to them. This idea alone makes this situation so terrifying and beautifully written. Rather than make them creepy dolls like in a horror movie, or use them for simple shock value, Miura went for the moral perspective, exploring the idea of a child's innocence and how easily it can be corrupted, resulting in the outcome being what I think is easily the most uncomfortable aspect I could think of. This is also exactly why I have said this is a horrific and more so horror arc. It's pretty scary. Jill begins to feel sleepy as Rosine wraps her arms around her. She'll be sure to make her extra special, strong, pretty, so much so that no one will ever hurt her. She's getting desperate and trying to lure Jill in, and as Jill begins to see herself in a cocoon, one of them falls as the room erupts into flames. Guts at the other side. His face is empty, gone, and devoid of any emotion. He swings his blade, cleaving away the bugs while further fanning the flames. Jill stares at who should be her savior, yet states that for an instant, in the blaze, he looked more like a monster than anyone else. Despite being a human, to Jill, Guts' rage and urges to kill the demons was more fearful than the demons themselves. Guts is truly that far gone. Guts swats the bugs away like flies, no regards to the fact that they're children. In his mind, since they've already crossed into being otherworldly, it doesn't matter. He stomps through the flames like before, burning the bugs away as Rosine calls for even more to attack. To everyone's horror, they swarm Guts and pin him down, biting and bloodying his skin. Yet under it all, a smile emerges. Guts flies into the flames while burning away every single bug Rosine summoned. She's speechless as he just sits there with a smile. He couldn't care less about the truth of the matter. Guts is quite literally a demon marching through the flames. Guts then extinguishes the flames with the blood of one of the child cocoons, going as far to hold the skeleton between his teeth. It's such a visceral, crazy image that Jill is speechless. But even worse, Rosine, a literal demon, questions if Guts is even human. Jill calls back to how she had thought of Guts as a forest ghost, but right now, in front of her, Guts is nowhere near as gentle as that. He isn't from that fairy tale like she's led herself to believe. Guts had told her from the very beginning what he would be doing, and now she's exposed to the realness of those statements. Like I've said since the very beginning, Guts gets really dark here. I meant it when I said it was his lowest point, and now everyone else who seemed to not believe it sees that. Rosine grows enraged as Guts further fans the flames, using them to push her away as he jumps through the heat to attack, but he yet again misses. With this, his brand begins to gush blood. With the loss of everything, Rosine is forfeiting her elf form, revealing her true look as a demonic bug. And as Jill questions if this is still her friend, Rosine states she doesn't need any of this anymore. All she needs is Jill. It all comes together here. Rosine is a bug-like demon that can alter and transform others into these bug-like creatures. Pseudo-demons, if you will. But just like a bug, Rosine moves really fast. She slices through her own elves as she sends Guts flying. So fast that he can't even see her anymore. She dives back down as Guts just barely dodges. She's destructive, insanely fast, and the noise she makes destroys his hearing, implying Rosine is moving so fast she's destroying the sound barrier. I don't even need to say it, but Guts needs to stop her somehow, even if it really seems impossible. What he doesn't know is that because he had cut off an antenna way earlier, Rosine is having trouble aiming her attacks, and now she's decided to slow the next attack down. Guts notices this fatal mistake. He then creates a shield with his arms and allows one of them to be pierced, meaning he's definitely hit, but not sent backwards. Guts is now being dragged through the sky by Rosine. This weird demon then takes to staring at him and licking him, holding him close as she calls this event a date in the starry sky. She drags him before the moon before calling him handsome. She understands why Jill would follow him, but then she declares she'll kill him as Jill's is hers alone. But like every demon, she's forgetting something. Guts' metal arm isn't just for show. He readies his cannon and fires, blowing them out of the sky into the ground as Guts wonders how his shot was so off. In the background, she's begun to boil over as she's been fatally injured. Her guts, no pun intended, are literally spilling out. She destroys the forest in search of Guts, leaving him to bandage his broken arm together with his sword. Yet now, with some time to think, he can't help but wonder why he keeps messing up. He has had 3 shots to kill her and failed every one. Is it because of Rosine's appearance? Jill and her story? Is he really that soft? It doesn't matter. He has to win this battle.
Black it out. One more time. I'll take my urge to kill and black everything else out.
Jill screams. She's lost in the flames. But Rosine also hears her cries, leaving Guts with an evil look. He knows how to finish this. Puck stands like an idiot as Jill cries. Everything Guts had said was true. She regrets everything that's happened. Yet Puck reminds her that if she sits there, she'll die. Nothing will matter then, especially after coming this far. Rosine then swoops in above her, braving the flames as she promises she'll carry Jill somewhere safe. Yet Jill is stuck as she watches Rosine's eggs burn. Rosine is this demonic creature, but it's still her friend. But this conundrum doesn't matter. Guts appears from the wall of flames to send his sword straight through Rosine, just barely missing Jill and leaving Rosine with a fatal blow. Though to contrast his monstrous appearance, Guts kicks open a cocoon to save the inflamed Jill. But it's not over. Rosine flies to the sky with Guts attached. Puck is left to watch the scene unfolding as he realizes that Guts planned this all out. He was willing to cover himself in the flames and use Jill as bait, but his actions after the fact, saving her, suggests he didn't want to hurt her. This is one of the most intensely drawn battles in the entirety of Berserk. It's graphic, amazingly detailed, and it's epic to read. But it's also very intense in other areas. The tactics Guts is willing to use, his lack of hesitation, and the apparent disregard to the idea of killing children. It's very much a lot, but it makes sense considering where he's at. Like I've said, Guts is at his darkest point ever right now. Why wouldn't we get every dark, insane, gory, cruel, uncomfortable detail of this insane battle? Everything a person can gain, appreciation, friends, love, it was all lost. Well, rather it was taken from him by someone important. All of that is on his back as Guts is soon to die because of how much he's hesitating against the threat in front of him. Not only does Jill and Rosine's story hit him because he can relate to it, but Rosine's half-child appearance makes it hard for him to even look in her direction. Guts has to disregard his feelings, replace the mask, and cover his heart in darkness if he really wants to win this fight. Yet despite it all, is he really willing to become that monster? He uses Jill as a way to get a fatal blow on Rosine, by all accounts making his big choice. And it was obviously a dark one. But then he goes out of his way to save her from death. Guts has somehow done both. If he had used Jill to attack Rosine and allowed her to die, it would make him no better than Griffith, the very person he's become this way because of. This very simple choice under a grotesque moment shows us that there is still humanity inside of Guts. Our black swordsman, no matter how dark he is, isn't ready to remove that from himself. They fly through the sky as Rosine cries out in pain. No human must ever be allowed to pain an elf. Berserked, she flicks him away before reminiscing on the moment she arrived to the valley with Baelid in hand. Her life is flashing before her eyes as she struggles to kill Guts. As he falls in front of the moon, Rosine readies one final shot. With both of his arms now disabled, Guts stares forward before catching her attack in his teeth. If it was an inch off, he would have died. And like we've seen many times, Guts fights with no care for his life, using the riskiest tactics possible, and in turn being some of the coolest things he's ever done. Using his jaw, he holds the demon in place as he readies his sword and cleaves through Rosine, finally ending her reign as both are sent backwards in different directions. As Guts passes out and flies towards the ground, Rosine bleeds out as she mutters, "They weren't there." Rosine recalls her memories as a human as she falls. In front of the moon, a night just like this, she reached Misty Valley, and she waited. She waited for days, forever, yet the elves never came. She knew she never believed in the elves. It was nothing more than a means of escape from her tragic life, choosing to disappear into a fairy tale rather than exist in the real world. But then her parents had found her. In this moment where you would expect care, their child has been missing for days and you find her battered and dirty in the middle of nowhere, they instead blamed her. This is what she ran from. And so, as she sat there bleeding, her Baelid activated. She had demanded everything to go away. And well, we know the rest. Rosine sacrificed her parents to become a demon, using her new power to create the fairy tale she so strongly believed in. Rosine hits the ground as she asks her parents for forgiveness. She tells Jill there was never any elves, but Puck lights up and states it's not true. He's sure that at one point elves really did exist here. Rosine looks at him. It's a real elf. Jill has found one. And so, she's sure Jill will be alright. As Jill's tears well up, Guts appears from behind. He's devoid of human characteristics, showered in the darkness. Like he had said, it's all blacked out. He's gone because of this demon hunt, and now he's ready to finish it. Jill tells him to stop. Rosine is immobile, asking why does he hate her so much, unable to comprehend that it's simply because Rosine is a demon. As he readies his blade to kill the demon, Jill jumps atop her. Yet, just like he had said, next time he can't hesitate. He yells as he begins to move, ready to undo the humanity he had just proved. But fate intervenes in the form of an arrow. Guts is stopped by an arrow fired by none other than Jill's useless father. The Holy Iron Chain Knights have finally caught up to Guts. He looks at Rosine one final time and realizes he needs to escape or it'll really be over. and so he disappears into the night. Jill is now faced with her father, and while you'd expect him to care, this whole black swordsman hunt was him attempting to recapture his glory. He really doesn't care for his daughter one bit. Yeah, just what I want to say doesn't need to be on the internet. Rosine then stands up, dazed as she flies up stating she needs to go home, fluttering through the sky as she becomes worried about her parents. And as she falls into the light and towards the ground, she simply wonders what's for dinner. She falls towards the earth dead while we're reminded of the tale of Pikif, Rosine's death telling us exactly what she was, a lost child trying to live a fairy tale. Rosine was a child who had everything horrible happen to her, choosing to run away and drown out her suffering by submitting other children to even worse fates, all under the guise of elves. In the world of Berserk, elves are the opposite of everything horrible she went through. They're angelic pixies, the spitting image of light and innocence. Of course, someone who's had a life like hers would desperately want to be an elf, taking the story of Pikif, one all about elves, and twisting it to fit her own heartbreaking story. Upon acquiring demonic powers, she wanted everything to be innocent, perfect, and clear, a lie of what reality really is. And so she crowned herself Queen Elf and created elves to fuel this image. Though despite it all, when it comes crumbling down, she's still a lost child wishing to return home, her precious place, just like Pikif and in turn Guts. Like many things in this arc, Rosine too twists back to Guts. Like Guts, she carried a mask to brave her pain, creating an illusion to avoid it entirely, similar to how Guts is blacking out his heart as a means to avoid everything he's been through. Rosine is an example of the bad choice. While a demon that's been humanized and given reasons to feel for, it's never enough to change what she did. In Berserk, the demons are pure evil once they've crossed that line, regardless of the context. And even Rosine, a child, isn't an exception. All this to say, in an arc where Guts is battling against that line, a fight against his internal darkness, she's an example that even a child can cross that line. A child can become a monster, and therefore, what's stopping Guts? Jill knows Rosine is gone, and while her father tries to rush her home, she can't go home yet. She has to find Guts because she can't let things be left this way. While the knights lose track of Guts, thanks to Puck, Jill is able to quickly find him hiding out in the dark. He's still messed up, covered in darkness with no human features at all, a clear reflection of his internal self and how he probably views himself. He's just put aside a child's life for his own goal after all. Regardless, he's surprised Jill wants to speak to him. Why would she after all that crap? Still, it's like he had said earlier, and if she continues to cling to him, everything will continue. Jill still sees the good in Guts, that somewhere inside that dark heart there's still a human, and asks for him to take her somewhere far away, just anywhere that's not here. But then Guts simply reminds her yet again of what she knows. Though rather than tell, he opts to now show her the darkness around him, a world clad in black, the only light visible being the dark, demonic, otherworldly beings that will never stop following him. This is that somewhere, the place she wants to go. Guts is in another world full of hideous things. This is the paradise she seeks. The spirits begin to cling to her, leaving her struck with fear as Guts slices them away. Yet he then wraps his cloak around her.
There's no paradise for you to escape to. What you'll find, and what's there, is just a battlefield. Go home. This is my battlefield. Go back to your battlefield.
Jill breaks down. She is no place she wants to return to. Nobody's kind, and like Guts had once said as a child, only bad things happen in the world. Yet in the end, Guts disappeared, the demons and the mist leaving with him. Jill can now see the sky. It's not as beautiful as flying was. It's savage, lonely, cold, yet it's clear. The mist, imagery for her lost and destitute heart, is now cleared. And so, she'll look to the sky as she crawls along Earth. She says goodbye to Puck, stating she's not violent like Guts. She doesn't want to run away like Rosine, but that means she'll just have to carve her own way through. Maybe that way she'll change something for herself. Jill is grown up, choosing to brave her personal life in her own unique way. Puck leaves her with some tricks to use on her horrible father, to mess with him a bit, ending the conversation with Puck in the beautiful now clear sky. Jill asking one final question. Why does Puck follow Guts?
I just can't leave him be. That idiot.
The Lost Children arc, while small, is truly one of Miura's best crafted parts of the series. Taking the roughly written Black Swordsman prologue and using everything from the Golden Age to transform it into something hauntingly perfect for Berserk. The final moment of this arc defines everything it's meant to show. Jill saw Guts as that paradise she was seeking, that fairy tale she could escape to. When in reality, Guts is no different than her. They're both the Lost Children. In this moment, Guts speaks the truth because he's lived it and is currently doing the same. Jill needs to return to her own battlefield, meaning she needs to deal with her own issues, as does Guts. He abandoned the few things left in his life for this dark quest of revenge. Can he still run from those things now that he's tested his humanity? Now that he's faced his darkness? Or will it continue to consume him? Lost Children is meant to test Guts' humanity in every way. If the Conviction arc is a story of how Guts found himself again, Lost Children is the part that shows the nightmare he was living in beforehand. Simply put, it's a fork in his road that shows him what he'll become if he continues down this dark path, using children as the perfect device to do so. But why? Why do I describe children as the perfect device for Guts? Well, let me remind you, besides the childhood abuse he himself suffered, he was meant to be a father right before this. At the end of the Golden Age arc, Guts had lost his child with Casca. While already a very sour topic considering his own childhood, this, without a doubt, even if there wasn't a sad childhood, would destroy anybody. And so, what's a better way to test what kind of man he's become, how his experiences have affected him, than to put him in an arc all about childhood suffering, a thing Guts has known in every step of his life. Yeah, all I'm gonna say is Miura really wanted Guts to feel some pain. Jill was given to us as a first-hand reminder of what a childhood in Berserk is like. Pretty tough for a guy who could have had one himself. Not only this though, what if I was to tell you Jill is quite literally Guts? If you think of every detail we've noted, everything we know about her, and everything she's been through, it's eerily similar to Guts. All the way to leaving the village for a hope that might never exist. Yeah, that should sound similar, because it's Guts. Guts had left the Hawk to search for a dream he might have never even found. All in all, it's quite simple. Jill is a device placed in front of Guts to remind him of the humanity he's now begun to forfeit. Many times throughout this arc, Guts told Jill to go away or even threatened to kill her, building up this image in mass that if he even has a hint of humanity, he'll fail this objective, killing Rosine and then Griffith. Still, Jill, this humanity of his, constantly gets in the way as he tries to murder Rosine. Everything is trying to tell Guts that as long as this humanity is around, he will fail. Yet Guts knows firsthand what happens with the loss of this humanity. He becomes a monster just as Griffith did. Is he ready to do that? More importantly, can he do that? Or is he really not this person he's created the mask to be? The point of the Lost Children arc is this very dilemma, and it's only through Jill that Guts can see this and question all of these very important things. Despite it all, while initially Jill may have seen Guts as a person out of a fairy tale like Pikif, in reality, he's another person on another battlefield, one of many fighting against their own situations. Yet despite the insistence about meaningless fairy tales, Pikif's is actually quite peculiar, as it really does point out Guts perfectly. It's a tale about imperfection, a tough situation, and a person dealing with the loss of their most important things. But after all is said and done, there's really no choice but to struggle through it all. Ultimately, what he makes of everything is what matters, not what led him there. Lost Children shows us that endless struggle is all that awaits. But it's not about escaping it, it's what you make of it. For the broader story of Berserk, it leaves us on a rough point. What will Guts make of it? Will he finally reunite with Casca? Will he reconsider his revenge? Now that he's seen one side of his coin, will he return to the other? This is where the Lost Children arc ends and Guts' misery flourishes. But like I said at the start, misery marks the start of your conquest. Guts can hopefully only go up from here. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll be ready to see the entirety of the Conviction arc eventually be covered. Yet again, I wanted a bit of a break from this humongous series, and I wanted to show how much this arc can really stand on its own. I think if you take them and split it up, there's a lot of things to look at individually between this and the rest of the Conviction arc. It's just seriously one of my favorite short little sections of Berserk. Anyways, I won't hold you here for much longer, and I probably should get started on that Conviction arc video. It sounds a bit cheesy, but all I'm gonna say is keep fighting your own battles. If this video is part of your battle and it makes you feel better, I'm happy. But I probably should get out of here. I don't want to sound any more cheesy. See you next time. Thank you for watching.